Hey, Blazer Tales. Oh, I got such a good one for you today. This is The Beach House by Rachel Hanna. This is going to be our first chapter Friday reading of this book. Love this book series so very much. I'm going to link the book talk down below if you want to listen to that and hear it about it. But this is going to be the first chapter. It's kind of a long chapter, so bear with me, but it is so good. Like major bombshell dropped, and it's the very first chapter. So, chapter one. She stood at the breakfast bar and looked out over her. Oh, wait, hang on a second. Hang on a second before I start. Let me share so you're not just staring at me. Let me share my screen so you can see the author and the cover. Hang on a second. I guess that may be as big as I can get it right there. Okay, so there you go. There's The Beach House by Rachel Hanna. She stood at the breakfast bar and looked out over her large home, now emptier than it had been. A part of her life was now behind her, the one where little children were underfoot, softball games were every weekend, and first dates had come and gone. Now she and her husband were empty nesters. Miss Julie, is there anything else I can do for you today? Her housekeeper Agnes asked. Agnes had been cleaning their house since their daughters were knee high to a grasshopper, as her grandmother would say. No, thank you, Aggie. Head on home and put your feet up. Agnes smiled gratefully as Julie handed her an envelope with her final paycheck plus a dash extra. I wish I could take you to the new beach house with us, but the place just isn't big enough to need a housekeeper. I guess I'll have to learn to do it myself, Julie said. With a sad laugh, it truly was the end of an era in so many ways. I know this place will make another family a great home, Agnes said, looking around. Julie hoped the older woman would finally retire, although she said cleaning was her hobby and she might as well get paid for it. Julie looked around also. Memories were housed in every nook and cranny, from the corner where they always put the Christmas tree to the gouge in the molding where their Great Dane had slid across the hardwood floors chasing after a ball and crashed into the wall. Memories were good and bad. Her eyes started to mist, which was not something she enjoyed, so she quickly changed the subject. Thank you for getting this place so clean. Our real estate agent already has three families interested, so I don't think we'll even have to put a sign in the yard. One of them has already made an offer, in fact. Agnes smiled. I'll miss you. Please tell the girls I love them and to send me a postcard, okay? Julie pulled her into an embrace. You know they love you like a grandmother, Aggie. They'll keep in touch, I promise. Julie was so proud of her daughters. Now both adults, they were taking the world by storm. Her 19-year-old daughter Meg was studying abroad in France for another year, and Colleen, her 20-year-old, was at college across the country in California. She had a prestigious internship at a law firm out there, so she rarely came home for a visit. Then that just left Julie and her husband of 21 years, Michael. For as long as she could remember, she'd had one dream that never died to buy a little beach house along, I'm sorry, to buy a little beach cottage along the South Carolina coast and enjoy their empty nest years while they were still young. At only 43 years old, Julie didn't consider herself retired. Quite the contrary. In fact, she ran a popular online boutique and she would continue to do so from her new beach house. In fact, she and Michael had put a contract on a place months ago, and the wonderful sellers had agreed to wait for them to get their house sold and tie up loose ends. The closing was coming up in a couple of weeks, and Michael had just enough time to go on one last business trip before officially retiring from his sales job. Once they moved, he'd be starting his own business too, and her dreams of them being beach bums in their 40s would finally come true. Julie could hardly wait. The beach was her happy place. The constant ebbing and flowing of the water gave her peace she couldn't explain in words, and the house they were buying was right at the water's edge. She'd often imagined what it would be like to sip her morning coffee while watching the dolphins swim by, and soon that would be her reality. She could hardly contain her excitement. Michael wasn't a big fan of the beach, but had always let her dream and gone along with what she wanted. She was She was the one always reaching for the stars, but Michael had always been more of the worker bee type, never really dreaming much past the present moment. Still, he'd succeeded in his job so well that they'd lived a pretty luxurious life, and Julie was thankful for that. Although her boutique brought in money, it was nowhere near enough to support them without Michael's income. When the girls had both left home, there had been a year, of what almost felt like shock for the both of them. The house was quiet. Gone were the days of dozens of kids packing their house on the weekend with loud sleepovers and dance parties till 3 a.m. They'd complained about it at the time, but when it was gone, the silence was deafening. It took a few months before Michael, especially, had seemed back to normal. They developed new routines like having breakfast on their patio together before he left for work. And all the while, Agnes had continued making their home pretty and clean, even though there wasn't really anyone there to mess it up anymore. As Julie stood in their big front window overlooking her driveway, she watched Agnes pull away in her small compact car and through the gates of her wealthy neighborhood. Yes, they'd been so blessed financially over the years, but now they were blessed in a different kind of way. With love, with a strong marriage that had stood the test of time, with a new start in a whole new place away from the hustle and bustle of the suburb Atlanta. Julie smiled at the thought of it. Her dreams were all about to come true. It was almost 7 o'clock and Michael still wasn't home. His plane had landed at 4, and she'd even looked online to make sure that it landed safely. She'd called his coworker who was on the trip too, but Mark had made it home over an hour ago, even with the crazy Atlanta traffic. Where was Michael? She tried texting him, but no response. Calls went straight to voicemail. She was getting more worried by the minute. Should she call the police? Was she overreacting? Just as she was about to dial 911, she heard the garage door open. Out of the window, she saw the tail end of his black BMW pulling into the side garage. A mixture of relief and outright anger flowed through her veins. Why was he so late, and why hadn't he answered her numerous texts and calls? Thank God you're okay, she said when he finally walked through the door. He wasn't wearing his normal business suit. Instead, he was in khaki shorts, a pale pink polo shirt, and boat shoes. He never wore that sort of thing on a business trip, even on the plane ride back. Why wouldn't I be okay? He said, a certain level of irritation in his voice. He didn't look at her as he walked in and rolled his one piece of luggage into the corner. Your plane landed hours ago. I've been texting you and calling, and you didn't answer. Why didn't you answer? You're overreacting, Julie. I was driving. You know I don't mess with my phone while I'm driving. Remember Kit? He often referred to his old friend Kit, who was killed in a car accident years ago by a distracted teenage driver. Still, it didn't normally take him over 3 hours to get home. Was traffic bad? Because Mark made it home over an hour ago. She was getting more and more dubious about his answers, and he still wasn't making eye contact. He looked at her, his face turning red from anger. Seriously? You called Mark? Are you trying to make me look like an idiot at work? Michael, I was worried. I was about to call the police. Oh my gosh, get a grip, Julie. I was a little late. It's not the end of the world, okay? He stormed down the hall to their bedroom and sat down in the chair to take off his shoes. Something was off. His demeanor had never been like this. Michael wasn't one to even raise his voice, which had made her the prime disciplinarian of their girls over the years. She was always the bad guy, and he got to play the good guy role. And why would you care what Mark or people at work think? This is your last trip, right? I mean, we are moving to the beach in a few weeks. He froze in place. The silence in the room was deafening, and for a moment she thought her ears had stopped working. He wouldn't look at her again. Michael, has something happened? I don't want to do this tonight, Julie. I'm tired. It was a long trip. He stood up and walked to the closet, staring at his side of the large closet for a moment before turning to her. What? You're freaking me out. Tell me what's wrong. I can help you, honey, she said, reaching out to touch his shoulder. He pulled away. I'm moving out. I know. We both are, sweetie, to our new beach house. Everything will be wonderful there. No, Julie, you're not listening. I'm leaving you. She stopped breathing. Her heartbeat in her head was like a pounding jackhammer. The room had started to spin a bit as she tried to get her equilibrium again. She grabbed the handle of the closet door and struggled to suck in a deep breath. What? There's someone else. Someone else? How could there be someone else? They had a good marriage, a life, a happy life, two girls, a maid, a new beach house. Maybe he was drinking or someone had slipped him a drug on the plane. This can't be happening, she stammered. Who? Why? Michael sighed. Does it matter, Jules? First of all, don't call me that. Cheaters don't get to call me that. Now she was angry. She walked toward him, her finger pointed at his face, rage literally coursing through her veins like waves after a hurricane. And second, yes, it matters. I want to know who the homewrecker is. He walked past her and back into the bedroom before sitting on the chair again. He covered his face and leaned back. I really didn't want to do this tonight, he repeated. She followed him out and stood in front of the chair. Oh, I'm sorry. I know you must be tired. Or would you rather crush my heart and smash all of our dreams tomorrow then? What time shall I pencil you into my calendar to be a gigantic cheating jack? I don't say that next word. There is one cuss word after I said there wasn't. It's lunchtime. Is lunchtime good for you? No, might mess with your digestion. I know. How about how you get constipated easily? Have you told your hussy the little tidbit about yourself? Enough, Julie. I never meant for this to happen, he said, standing. It just happened. Yeah, I hear a lot of cheaters say that on those trashy daytime talk shows. Unfortunately, that's a crock and you know it. You made a decision, Michael. At least give me a little respect of telling me who and how this happened. Let me get some water really quick. Hang on a second. He sucked in sharply and sat back down. Julie calmed herself down to sit on the bed a few feet away, prepping herself to hear the gory details she never thought she would hear. Her name is Victoria. She lives in Boston. All of those business trips to Boston. Now it makes more sense. So these business trips were all fake? Her heart hurt as she felt the first of the unwanted tears dripping down her face. Not all of them. At first, I was there to set up our new division. One night, after a particularly crappy meeting, I went to a restaurant. They didn't have seating for one. I sat at the bar. Then this woman came in. Good Lord, this is unbelievable. You can't help who you fall in love with, Julie. She stood up. Seriously? You were supposed to be in love with me, Michael. Me, your wife of 21 years. The mother of your two daughters. Was that fake too? Of course not. I loved you. Past tense. Really? He sighed again. Victoria just gets me, and there's something else. There's more? Lovely. We have a 6 month old. His name is Charlie. Once again, she couldn't breathe. Michael had always wanted a son, but after two difficult pregnancies, Julie had said no more. That had created a huge rift in their marriage for years, but they'd eventually gotten past it. Now he has his son and his perky bosom soulmate. She just wanted to vomit. How could you? So you've been living this secret life where you go to Boston a couple of times a month and spend time with your other family? Dear God, what are Meg and Colleen going to think of this? You can't tell them. Have you fallen and hit your head? They have to know they have a little brother. I mean, just let me tell them, please. She sat down and pushed back her tears. Fine, spin it however you want, but good luck. Your daughters aren't idiots like me. They'll smell your lies a mile away. Julie, I never meant to hurt you, but life is short and I just want to be happy again. I was the fool who thought I made you happy all these years. You did for a long time. Wow. Well, sorry I didn't make the cut for the second half of your life. I guess I'm not young and hot enough anymore. Julie, she's only a year younger than you are. It's not like that. Well, that was a punch in the gut. She couldn't she couldn't even blame this on a younger, hotter woman. Nope, she just wasn't enough all the way around. I have a flight leaving tomorrow and I'll send movers for my things next week. I spoke to the real estate agent yesterday and our counter offer was accepted, so the buyers will close in 3 weeks. And where am I supposed to go, Michael? I wasn't going to leave you in the lurch, Julie. You might think I'm a horrible person right now, and I do too, honestly. Not enough, apparently. You're still going to Boston. I have to go. My son is there, and seeing him off and on isn't good for his development. I don't even know what to say. This is like some cheesy TV movie. Here, he said, reaching into his pocket and handing her a set of keys. What are these? Keys to a suite at the extended stay hotel on Davenport. An extended stay hotel? Seriously? I've paid for 6 weeks after the house closes to give you some time to get on your feet. Julie stood there in stunned silence. This wasn't the man she knew. This wasn't the man who nursed her back to health after a bout with the flu 4 years ago. This wasn't the man who diligently went to every Lamaze class with her when she was pregnant with Colleen. And this certainly wasn't the man who stood in front of her and renewed his vows a few years back. She didn't know this guy. I just can't believe this. I need to also tell you that the beach deal isn't happening, Julie. Obviously, I'm truly sorry, very sorry to kill your dreams of living there. I thought it was our dream, she said softly, unable to stop the tears from flowing. It was never my dream, Julie. You knew that all along. What is your dream, Michael? My dream is in Boston. And just like that, her heart shattered into a million pieces, scattering all over the floor of the home that once housed only precious memories. Oh my goodness, that is such a good book. I cannot wait for you to read this book. Go get The Beach House by Rachel Hanna. This book is absolutely amazing. You will so fall in love with the characters in these books. I will see you in the next first chapter Friday reading, guys.